Hello Audioholics. It is a little rainy and the traffic's a little backed up, but we are taking an Audioholics road trip today. We're here in Portland, Oregon, going to the headquarters of Aperion Speakers. You may know their top line Verus series. Well, they've got an update, the Verus 2. They've made a couple subtle changes, maybe some not so subtle changes, and we're going to get ears on at the Aperion headquarters today. So as long as the traffic keeps flowing, you're going to hear a lot more about those speakers here in just a minute. Stay tuned. So Audioholics, we've taken a little road trip today. We're going to see some new speakers firsthand from one of our most favored manufacturers, and that is Aperion Speakers. And I'm here with Oliver Amnapol. He's going to walk us through the new Verus 2 speakers from Aperion.
Yeah, so thanks Marshall. So first of all, we've changed all of the Verus Grand Series of speakers. That includes the tower, the bookshelf, and the center channel, which is right behind you there. And we've refreshed them all with a brand new tweeter. Still a waveguide function, as you can see, compared to the old tweeter there, but just refined to give us a smoother response in the last octave of the frequency range there. And we've also added ferrofluid cooling to the tweeter as well, so now even better power handling or distortion.
Excellent, yeah. Very good. And there's a lot of things about the new speaker that we can't necessarily see, also things that you've changed on the inside of the speaker, starting with the crossover.
That's right, yeah. We've really spent a lot of time and effort in all three of these models to fine-tune and revoice the crossover for the new tweeter, but also to allow it to integrate more seamlessly with the other drivers as well. Some quality changes in the crossovers themselves have to do with the parts. We've upgraded to include even more mylar and polypropylene capacitors.
Excellent.
Where there were none, and also the designs themselves have become more streamlined, so that helps too. And the wiring is also another internal component that we've changed and upgraded. We were running an 18 gauge wire throughout all the speakers. Now we've got 12 gauge on the woofers of all the models, 14 gauge on the mid-range drivers, and 16 gauge on all the tweeters.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you've kind of hit all the core components of crossover design, get quality parts, keep your design as simple as necessary to hit your performance. And then there's a few changes around back too, which we can show. Wow, that's a lot heavier than I expected. A few changes around the back. You've gone away from the stamped metal jumpers, and now we've got a high gauge wire jumper on the back as well.
That's correct. Yeah. 12 gauge wire jumper with spade connectors. So much better quality jumper all around too.
Excellent. So what this strikes me as in terms of the changes to the model, basically what they've done is they've kind of tweaked everything up. They've customized it. They've put a higher performance tweeter in there, higher performance parts in the inside, and they've made sure that all the pieces connecting those components, because if you have good components, it's sort of like your speaker's only as good as the weakest link. They've made sure that every link along the way is exactly the quality that it needs to be. Well, probably the last thing to talk about is availability and pricing. I'll address the availability first. They got a shipment of these in and they sold like hotcakes. The thing about Aperion is they have fantastic customer support, 30-day try in your own home, money back guarantee, shipping both ways still, right?
That's right.
Shipping both ways, there's literally no risk involved. And of course a great customer base that's out there knows about the products. Well, as soon as the new speakers came in, they sold out. So we're waiting on the next shipment. At best we can say on availability is sign up for the emails from Aperion if you're interested in these and get your name on the list. And then when it comes to pricing, we have $11.59 each on the black, and then $12.49 for the cherry. So you have your choice between a high gloss black, beautiful cherry finish, as once again you can see on our bookshelf here. Only a little bit of price difference between the two. And then for the bookshelves, why don't you step us through the pricing on that?
Yeah, so for the bookshelf speaker, we have in the black finish $7.59 a pair. And then for the cherry, we go to $7.79 a pair.
And then of course for the home theater folks, you got to have the center channel that goes with it. Center channel in black, $6.49. Center channel in the beautiful cherry, $6.79. So what you're able to do is put together a 5-channel system for a couple $1,000s is all high performance, top, the best what Aperion has to offer. And speaking of understanding a little bit more about what they're offering, I got to get ears on with these. So Oliver's going to let me crank up the system a little bit, and I'll be back to tell you what I hear. All right, Audioholics, so we just wrapped up getting ears on with speakers that have been so popular, they're flying off the shelves. The only place to hear them right now, until they get another stock in and until you try out that 60-day risk-free home trial, is here in Portland at the Aperion headquarters. So we have the Verus 2 speakers. I listened to just the tower speakers, although bookshelf and center speaker, as we talked about, are also available. Ran it through kind of my standard suite of test tracks and some things that jumped out to me. First off, Ani DeFranco, Hypnotize. Love to start with that one. Gives you a good impression of what the low frequency response might sound like. Starts with a plucked bass, and the first thing that you notice right away with the Verus Grand 2s, or Verus 2 Grands, which is it, Oliver? Either way. The 2s, first thing I heard with the 2s is, number one, very natural. A lot of good bass support, and once again, stereo only, no subwoofers, and with an upright bass, perfectly fine. There's going to be no question whatsoever they're going to be able to reproduce a good natural sound. So then the question is, okay, well, what do you do when you move away from that natural sound? One of the torture tracks that I'd love to throw on is Bjork's Hyper Ballad, and all the way through there's these 3 sine wave bass frequencies basically. This is not going to represent natural listening music in the acoustic world. This is somebody taking a sine wave generator, cranking it to max volume 3 times and getting 3 cool notes out of it, and what you get there is a lot of good throbbing in the chest. And the Verus 2s, without a subwoofer for support, were able to hit those 3 sine wave frequencies all the way down to the lowest regions of audible listening. So in that regard, if you're looking to do a 2.0 setup, then these are certainly going to fit the bill, at least in the bass frequency. Of course, we want to be able to judge the mid-range and the high frequencies and sense of spaciousness as well. So the next place that I went was Feist's A Limit to Your Love. It's one of the test tracks that I use. It's a bit of a torture track for high frequencies. You often hear about torture tracks for low frequencies. This is a torture track for high frequencies. And the reason why is that it was recorded in a very live space. And so if you're listening to this on a set of speakers where they don't have a lot of great high frequency reproduction, you lose a lot of that air. You've heard this audiophile word before, right? Air. What they really mean is that very highest register of frequencies, which represents a sense of space. And so when you're listening to this track, The Limit to Your Love by Feist, you get a sense of being in that room as long as you've got a set of speakers that can really have a nice, natural, extended high frequency. And that's what I was getting out of the Verus Grand 2s. But there's also a piece a little over 3 minutes in where she hits these super power notes, these high notes, and if there's too much high frequency response, it's going to sound strident or piercing, grating on the ears, unpleasant, to put it frankly. And that was not what I got out of this room with these speakers. Instead, I think that these sound like they have a nice little tapering towards the highest frequencies, and so what you're going to get is a nice natural sense of air, but when things really do start to punch, really start to hit in the high frequencies, you're not going to be hitting the ear bleed volumes at those sort of more grating, strident frequencies. That takes us to just the mid-range, and so where I did there is I switched up with some male vocals. I listened to Greg Brown, The Poet Game, as well as Mark Knopfler's Broken Bones, and what I was listening for with the Greg Brown track, again, natural, whereas Mark Knopfler, the microphone or the recording technique they've used puts a little bit of a honky sound to it. It's got a little grit all over the track, and so what I was hearing in the Greg Brown track is that, again, all the way through the plucked guitar strings, and especially in his voice, he has sort of a wobbling tone to his voice, and it handles those gradients, the times when he's really pushing the sound and the times when it's sort of retracting back into his throat very well. And to me, what that says is that in terms of mid-range reproduction, there's a certain richness to the mid-range, but it's not so rich that it colors everything. And this, again, is proven out when you listen to Mark Knopfler's Broken Bones. He already puts a little bit of mid-range honk on there. So if you have a honky speaker, it's just going to sound boxed. It's going to sound like you're putting your hands around your face and doing the megaphone. That was not the case. So overall, what I'm going to say is these speakers, top of the frequency range all the way down to the bottom, natural, and in terms of sense of spaciousness, cast a huge vertical image. I especially got that on the Ani DeFranco track. And then when Mark Knopfler, he starts off with sort of this deep, gritty voice that stays very focused in the middle, and then he doubles and triples his tracks to the left and right, and all of a sudden that expands tremendously, and I got that same sense out of the Verus Grand 2s, that sense of this image sort of drastically expanding and getting this room-filling image. So from only 2 speakers, what you're getting is a whole room full of sound. Overall, very impressed. We only did about 30 to 40 minutes worth of listening today. I'm certainly gracious of the Aperion folks to invite us in, let us set up and take over and blast some tracks here at the headquarters while they're trying to get work done. We'll love to get more ears on with this, but right now what I can say, having heard these speakers, is that these are serious contenders when it comes some high performing and yet moderately priced offerings. So great to see the Portland boys doing well here at Aperion. Loving the fact that we can hop in the car and drive on up for the Audioholics road trip. So do stay tuned to our YouTube channel and of course audioholics.com, as well as liking us on Facebook, so that you're making sure to catch us on all of our travels, whether by car, plane, train, automobile, or our own 2 feet. Sometimes you can travel without leaving your own living room, which is all that we want out of home theater and audio. Thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll see you again soon.